two separate occasions and was unable, or were unable, to elicit a recommendation from the planning commission well within the 30-day period referenced in the zoning ordinance in effect. So it would be the applicant's position that the planning commission's recommendation now becomes moot.
Given the,
I just wanted to add one point to that.
Sure.
The second time, I wasn't at the first, it was a hearing, we actually presented evidence and opposed any recommendation. And the planning commission was not able to, in other words, it took a vote and there was so many abstentions, they did not agree. So it's my position, they reached a decision against the particular project.
No.
well, hold on, did they vote to oppose the application, or did they just not render a recommendation one way or another?
Well,
Because
they
those are
took-
two different
They
things.
were gonna take a vote, and then there was so many abstentions that they could not do business.
With all due respect, I disagree, and I think the meeting minutes would bear it out. There were three members in favor of a favorable recommendation, but the two new members felt they had not had sufficient time to give a knowledgeable input, if you will. So no vote, it's my recollection, no vote was taken by the planning commission with regard to the recommendation.
What I would suggest at this point is
There was a woman and two men.
I was present at that, it was actually 3 abstentions.
Yeah, three.
There's 3
A
new members.
woman, a
Yeah.
woman and two men.
Yeah, there's 3 abstentions at that meeting.
It's my position that was
Weeks,
their decision,
Mr. Weeks.
and so I think that should be reflected for the board to consider, that the planning commission is not able to make a
We
recommendation.
disagree on that, and I believe the minutes will bear it out.
Well, so at this point, I think the planning commission next meets February 6th, which would be the first Monday in February, which will be before both parties submit, any of the parties submit their briefs on February 24th. And I'd suggest that the planning commission has the opportunity at that time to reconsider the application to the extent that they have any recommendations submitted within a week of that time period in order for it to be appropriately considered by any of the parties to this matter.
Does that mean, will the planning commission contact us if they're gonna have a hearing, or
There's no
are you
hearing.
telling us that?
Well, the planning commission does have hearings. It just considers the plans that are presented before it from a planning perspective and can offer its comments based on the plans.
So there wouldn't be witnesses or evidence or argument, they would just come in and make a vote, but it'd be a public meeting, and I guess there'd be an opportunity for public comment.
And I understand there's been materials presented to them previously, and we can make sure that any of the additional exhibits that have been presented during these hearings can be forwarded to them prior to the 6th, and they then have the opportunity, and it could be 3 things. They could raise objections to the plans, they could note their recommendation for the plans, or ultimately they can come down and determine that they don't have, they're not, pro or nay on the plan, pro or con on the plans.
And that would be a 6 o'clock meeting, or is that a later meeting? Or don't you know?
Mr. Crook, do you know what time the planning commission meeting is?
6:30. 6:30.
So if we wish to be here, we should show up at 6:30 on the 6th.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mike, could you go into the ability to abstain, as far as the rules regarding that? If there's correct me if I'm wrong, financial conflict, or there's only certain ways that you can actually abstain, correct?
Well,
Yeah.
Well, no, it's generally if they feel they have a conflict of interest, if they have any kind of vested interest in the project, or will be directly impacted by the project beyond the general public. So if they were a neighboring property, I'd expect an individual planning commission member to abstain. If they get money, or any members of their family are monetarily invested in the application anyway, they likely have to abstain.
Any other reason, though, they would have to vote yea or nay, correct? I mean, they would have to vote yea or nay, otherwise it's just...
Well, yeah, those are typically the bases for someone to abstain from voting.
Right, okay.
Okay, with that addressed, I did ask the parties if they had any objection to the timing of the briefing schedule and the expectation the board would render its final decision on March 28th. And we got into side discussion, but I just wanted to confirm on the record, is there any objection to that timing?
No objection by the applicant with a request, and the request is that the record be closed this evening, but for the submission of the recommendation from the planning commission that was just had, which hopefully will take place on February 6th, and submission of proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and any brief in support of those by the parties.
That seems acceptable to me, Attorney Stratton.
No objection, seems a reasonable plan of action.
Okay, so just to confirm again, anyone who wants to submit a brief or memo or position statement with respect to the application has until February 24th at 5 p.m. to do so. They can either drop it off directly here to the township secretary or email it to my email, which I provided before. It'll then be distributed to the board with the expectation that the board will render its decision on the application on or before the March 28th township meeting. And with that, I think the board can, if it desires right now, accept any public comment generally related to the application, noting of course that public comment is not testimony or evidence. It should just be reflect, people's views or feelings about the application.
Sure.
Any objections from the board? With that being said, is there any public comment on the application that anyone wishes to make? Mrs. Scott? Yeah, let's keep this on the record.
I have question and comment in reference to the application. Just for clarification, because it's part of the record, and I want to be sure it's the one that I should reference, and also that the voting board should reference. Is it correct that the application is dated and signed by Emmanuel Levine, Levin, dated January 20, 2000/02? Could you clarify that?
Yeah, I believe the township exhibits include the original application that was submitted. Of course, there's a lengthy procedural history that's involved in this one where there was a hearing held back in 2008 or 9 or so to open the record, but then it was generally continued. And then what prompted these hearings was the letter request from the applicant to reopen those proceedings and to move forward with the application.
Oh, so there was a letter that triggered the reinstituting of that 2000/02 applicant.
Yeah, just to be clear.
And is that letter part of the exhibits?
Just to be clear for the record, the original application by the applicant was Exhibit T2, and the letter request from the applicant's attorney was dated August 22nd, 2016. That was Exhibit T3.
The application T2, does it indicate at the very top that it's from Pecopson Township?
No, it doesn't.
Well, I think the one that I have and the one that I seen did have that. So I would want the board, and I would want that corrected. The correct application signed by Emmanuel Levin, dated 1/20/2000/02. At the very top, I noticed when I come in and looked at the Bawa file, it was faxed from Pecopson Township.
You're referencing a fax. It appears to be a fax line on the top of the application. If you look at the title of the application, it's titled as Conditional Use Application, East Fallowfield Township.
Correct, but at the top, does it not have that it was faxed from Pocopson Township.
I don't know what that means, if it was faxed from wherever it was.
Well, it reads Pocopson. I read it.
It says.
P-O-C-O,
Yeah,
Pocopson, and the fax number. Okay. So if it was faxed, why was it faxed from Pocopson Township when the applicant is from Philadelphia and/or wherever he has his legal offices or wherever he resides? I would question that, and I guess I'll put that in my comments when I file my brief.
you can certainly do that.
But I want to draw it to the attention of the board at this time. And then I would question, which I've questioned the township, $1,500 was to be paid. How was that paid? That should be submitted along with the application. Before you start any process, don't you have to pay an application fee? So I would somewhat I think we the East Fallowfield taxpayers are being gamed, and I want to know, and I put in a right to know request, I even question all the time, where is the money? Where was it deposited? How, you fax an application. When I applied for anything through the township, I submitted and had to submit fees. So, on behalf of the East Fallowfield taxpayers, we have put out well over probably $4,000 at least. If this is the fourth meeting, maybe $8,000 in legal fees and other fees associated. And the applicant has, in my view, put up nothing. So I somewhat think this should, until they can prove they paid their application fee, I find this, you're gaming the township and you're breaching our trust. So I would want the parties to provide their receipt or a copy of their check, whatever they submitted to pay the $1,500. I would demand to have that submitted to East Fallowfield Township. That's it for now.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comment on the application? Okay, seeing none, I think we're concluded for this evening and look forward to receiving everyone's submissions.